Top of the hour. For the first time, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has given the green light to Gilead Sciences' antiviral drug Remdesivir to be used as a treatment against COVID-19. Concerns grow as the number of people who have died shortly after receiving free flu shots in South Korea has hit around 30. And with less than 2 weeks to go until the November 3rd U.S. presidential elections, President Donald Trump and the Democratic candidate Joe Biden have just kicked off their final televised debate. Our top story this morning, many parts of Europe continue to see record high daily tallies of COVID-19, including Italy, which reported over 16,000 in the past 24 hours. With France reporting over 40,000, the country has extended its curfew to 38 regions. Our Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
Europe continues to be a hotbed of COVID-19 as many countries continue to shatter previous daily records. This includes France, which reported over 41,000 new cases on Thursday. France's total caseload is quickly approaching 1 million. Earlier in the day, the French government announced a broad extension of the curfew put in place a week ago in Paris and other major cities. The measures have now been extended to 54 regions and 1 overseas territory, putting at least 46 million people under curfew. This comes as 38 regions were added on Thursday. The curfew is in effect from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Italy continues to report new daily records as the country saw over 16,000 cases in the past 24 hours, shattering the record reported a day earlier. For the second straight day, the northern region of Lombardy reported more than 4,000 new cases, more than double any other region. Most cases in the Lombardy region have occurred in Milan, Italy's financial center. Italy's Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte earlier said he's ready to apply tougher restrictions if the situation worsens. In the Czech Republic, the nation of 10 million is now reporting more new COVID-19 cases per 100,000 people than any major country in the world, with nearly 15,000 new cases seen on Wednesday. On the same day, Czech Prime Minister Andrej Babiš apologized to the people, admitting he and his government had failed to handle the outbreak. For weeks, the Prime Minister has refused to impose stricter measures, citing the need to protect the economy. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
An important scientific milestone in the COVID-19 pandemic. The U.S. FDA said this Thursday as it gave full authorization to the antiviral drug Remdesivir. The approval makes the drug the first and only official treatment against the virus. Our Lee Kyung-eun has the latest.
5 months into receiving emergency use authorization, Remdesivir has finally been fully approved by the U.S. FDA as a treatment against COVID-19. Thursday's approval makes the antiviral drug the first and only officially authorized treatment for the infectious disease in the United States. Made by U.S.-based Gilead Sciences, Remdesivir was initially developed to treat Ebola, but it began being used as COVID-19 therapy in 50 countries, including the U.S., after one study showed the drug can cut patients' recovery time by 5 days. In August, the scope of emergency use was also expanded to include mild and moderate patients, not just severe cases. Those patients include President Trump, who used the drug in his fight against the virus. And now, under the official approval, Remdesivir will be given to hospitalized patients who are at least 12 years old and weigh over 40 kilograms. However, the WHO, based on its latest study, remains doubtful about the drug's effectiveness. Gilead criticized the WHO, saying their findings don't negate other positive results. Despite the WHO's concerns, the drug maker is set to ramp up production to make 2 million treatment courses by the end of this year. Lee Kyung-eun, Arirang News.
And with the coronavirus situation here in the nation, South Korea reported 155 new COVID-19 cases on Friday, continuing its upward streak, surpassing 100 mark for the second day. Of the new cases, 138 were locally transmitted and 17 were from overseas. The total caseload is now close to 25,700. 2 more patients have died of the virus, bringing the country's death toll to 455. The number of people that have died shortly after receiving free flu shots in South Korea has hit around 30. Concerns linger as the deaths come on the heels of 2 recent vaccine recalls. However, health officials insist there's no link between the deaths and the vaccinations. Our Choi Jung-yun reports.
As of Thursday, some 30 people have died in South Korea after being vaccinated against influenza. Public concerns have been amplified as deaths are occurring across the nation, with the first case coming from Incheon City, followed by cases as far away as Daegu and Jeju Island. Most deaths are among elderly people in their 70s and 80s, who are considered a high-risk group. The safety of the vaccine is also in question, as a number of people reported symptoms after getting the shot, with some suffering from fever and difficulty breathing as well as feeling nauseous. This comes after 500,000 flu shots were recalled last month for being stored improperly. However, the head of the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency at a Thursday hearing in the National Assembly said that this year's influenza vaccine is not toxic and therefore not responsible for the recent deaths.
It has not yet been explained clearly that the recent deaths are related to the vaccine, and it's the investigation team's opinion that the likelihood is very low.
She said it would take up to 2 weeks to find out the exact cause of the death through autopsy, and emphasized the vaccination should not stop, especially for the elderly.
Up to 3,000 people die in 1 year due to the influenza itself. As the influenza can worsen underlying diseases, leading to the cause of death, it's safer to get the shots.
The government will continue to distribute the flu vaccine and conduct further epidemiological investigations, unless there are more deaths among people getting the same vaccines as used in previous cases. The National Forensic Service meanwhile confirmed Thursday through an autopsy that the first case, the death of a 17-year-old, has no connection to the vaccination itself. Choi Jung-yun, Arirang News.
Now, the final debate of the 2020 U.S. presidential election has just begun. With less than 2 weeks to go until the November 3rd vote, U.S. President Donald Trump and the Democratic candidate Joe Biden have the opportunity to make their last pitch to American voters. The debate could be the best chance for Trump to flip the table, as results of various polls released on Thursday, according to Real Clear Politics, show Biden leading Trump by an average of 4.1 percentage points in 6 battleground states. The debate will last for 90 minutes. China warned the U.S. on Thursday to halt arms sales with Taiwan amid escalating tensions between the 2 superpowers. China's demand for the termination comes as the U.S. officially notified Congress of weapons sales to Taiwan worth $1.8 billion. Our Choi Min-jung has the details.
China on Thursday warned the U.S. to terminate arms sales and military contact with Taiwan. This comes after the U.S. State Department on Wednesday notified Congress of an approved $1.8 billion worth of arms sales to Taiwan. In response to the U.S. proposed sales of sensors, missiles, and artillery, Zhao Lijian, China's foreign ministry spokesperson, strongly opposed the decision during a daily news briefing on Thursday local time, saying that China will take legitimate and necessary measures depending on how the situation progresses.
The U.S. sales of weapons to Taiwan severely violate the One China principle and the 3 joint communiques, particularly the August 17th communique, seriously interfere with China's internal affairs, seriously damage China's sovereignty and security interests, send a seriously wrong signal to Taiwan independence forces, and severely damage China-U.S. relations and peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. China firmly opposes to this.
Meanwhile, in Taipei, the defense minister of Taiwan thanked the U.S., saying that the weapons will help improve its defensive capabilities. He also added that Taiwan has no interest in engaging in arms race with China.
Regarding the U.S. arms sales this time, we express our sincere appreciation.
Last week, Reuters reported the White House was going forward with 5 separate military sales deals with Taiwan worth a total of $5 billion. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Goldman Sachs is subject to a record-high penalty in the United States for violating the country's anti-corruption law tied to a Malaysian sovereign wealth fund. Our Kim Hyo-sun reports.
Goldman Sachs has agreed to pay over $2.9 billion, pleading guilty for being involved in a foreign corruption probe tied to the Malaysian sovereign wealth fund known as 1MDB.
Today's resolution includes the largest monetary penalty ever paid to the United States in a corporate criminal foreign bribery resolution and requires the bank to pay a total of over $2.9 billion in criminal fines, penalties, and disgorgement.
On top of this, several current and former top Goldman Sachs executives will face financial penalties as well, having to return millions of dollars in pay, as well as bonuses to the company, worth some $174 million in total. 1MDB was a state fund set by former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak in 2009 for the stated purpose of boosting domestic economic development. Instead, the funds were said to have been used by a Malaysian financier to fund an eye-watering spending spree, including yachts and buildings. It's also estimated that some $4.5 billion was siphoned off by the former prime minister and his affiliates. During this process, Goldman bankers reaped in around $600 million in fees to facilitate bond deals from 2012 to 2013. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
The so-called Korea Sale Festa, South Korea's biggest shopping festival, is to kick off next month, the largest scale in ever. According to the Ministry of Trade and Industry, more than 1,300 firms are planned to participate in this year's event. This is almost double the number of companies from last year. And this year, all 17 major cities and provinces will join the festival with products close to people's everyday lives, such as cars, clothes, electronics, and cosmetics will be on display. The festival runs until November 15th, and purchases can be made both on and offline. Tottenham Hotspur's South Korean forward Heung-min extended his scoring streak to 3 matches on Thursday night with a goal against Austria's Lask. Son started on the bench in the Europa League Group J match, but was brought on 17 minutes into the second half with Tottenham already leading 2-0. He then scored some 20 minutes later by converting a headed pass from Carlos Vinicius to give Spurs a 3-0 victory. This was Son's 9th goal in 8 matches in all competitions. He is tied for the most goals in the Premier League with 7 in 5 games. With his latest goal in London on Thursday, Son has almost reached double digits in less than 10 games.
Good morning. What a chilly start to the day we had this morning. And of course, the biting winds weren't helping. Today is Sanggang, the last autumnal turn, meaning the first frost of the season. But actually, mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province could see snow today with the season's first cold wave advisory being in place there. So dress extra warmly on your way out. Clean air under mostly sunny skies are welcome, but it's going to feel like mid-November all day today. And Seoul will only get up to 13 degrees Celsius, Chuncheon at 14, Daegu topping out at 16 degrees this afternoon. We need to stay warm today. It's going to be even colder tomorrow, with morning lows in Seoul dropping to just 2 degrees Celsius. But the cold weather should ease on Sunday afternoon. Temperatures will return to the season norms next week, but we could see some dusty days. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.